With every passing year, it seems like more and more physical retailers fall off the map as they struggle to keep up with the online revolution. Retailers as big as JCPenney, J.Crew, Neiman Marcus, Pier 1 Imports, Toys R Us, Price Electronics, and even Sears have all filed for bankruptcy or shut down completely. And with the surge of the pandemic, it seems like this trend would only accelerate, and that's exactly what happened throughout 2020 as dying retailers completely collapsed. But as these weak retailers left the space, the surviving retailers have emerged stronger than ever before. In fact, according to the US government in 2021, retail sales grew by 18% while online sales only grew by 14%. Now, you could chalk this up to a rebound from pandemic lows, and I'm sure that plays a role. But this confirms that there are certain products that people prefer to buy in person even if they're available online. Otherwise, why would consumers have gone back to physical retailers? Also, given that a bunch of physical retailers shut down during the pandemic, you would think that it would be harder for the remaining retailers to make a comeback, but that doesn't seem to be the case. In fact, the National Retail Federation predicts that 72% of US sales will still occur in brick-and-mortar stores in 2024. So, why are physical retailers making a comeback, and is this sustainable or just a fluke? One of the biggest strengths of physical retailers is the delivery and return process. While Amazon has continuously pushed down delivery times from weeks to days to hours, there's often still quite a bit of friction within these processes. First of all, you have the package missed delivery problem. I'm sure all of us have received one of our neighbor's packages, or our packages have ended up at our neighbor's house. And sometimes you don't even know where your package went and it's just gone forever. Whenever this happens, you have to file a complaint with the retailer and UPS or FedEx, and it's just a massive headache. In fact, I bet a lot of consumers don't even file lost package complaints, especially for cheap products, just to avoid the hassle. While this is simply a minor annoyance for cheap products, where this becomes a serious problem is expensive products. I don't think any of us want to deal with a new smartphone or laptop being delivered to some random dude in the city. Now, of course, there is the option of requesting a signed delivery for expensive products, but this isn't necessarily all that convenient. You now have to spend your entire day at home waiting for the delivery guy. There's also the problem of porch pirates, which is especially a problem within big cities. In fact, over 10% of all packages disappear without an explanation in the major US cities. And given that most of us make at least one online purchase every month, we're talking about dealing with at least one lost package every year. And then there's the problem of returns. Returning products has always been one of the biggest hassles of the online shopping experience. 26% of online shoppers say that they never return an online order, and 65% say that they rarely return an online order. This is quite ironic when you consider that online return rates are still way higher than brick-and-mortar return rates. On average, shoppers return 5 to 10% of in-store purchases, while shoppers return 15 to 40% of online purchases. This means that if most consumers weren't too lazy to return online orders, this number would be even higher. Meanwhile, the successful physical retailers have figured out how to perfectly combine the online and physical shopping experiences to offer the best of both worlds. For example, with most stores, you can do curbside pickup. This is perfect if you want to order something online but don't want to deal with the delivery. With curbside, you don't even have to get out of your car, but you can easily ensure that your package doesn't go to someone else and that it's the right product. Also, it's not really a hassle to pick up the product either if you plan it right. You can just pick up your purchase when you come back from work. Similarly, if you don't want the product, you can simply drop it off in store the next day after work. Considering this, I believe a lot of Americans will prefer curbside pickup even over home delivery. And as the convenience disparity between physical and online shopping shrinks, physical retailers will simply continue to make up ground. Aside from physical retailers shining in the delivery and return categories, physical retailers will continue to kill it when it comes to on-demand products like groceries. While there are services like Instacart and Whole Foods Home Delivery, there's no doubt that these options are still extremely expensive. And most Americans are unwilling to pay such high delivery fees to simply receive everyday goods like groceries. This isn't anything new, but it wasn't until recently that physical retailers have started to leverage this advantage, specifically with curbside grocery delivery. This isn't as advantageous for retailers that only sell groceries, but this is extremely helpful for mega retailers like Walmart, Target, Sam's Club, and Costco who sell everything under the sun. Let's say you need a new mouse. Instead of ordering it from Amazon, why not bundle it with a Walmart grocery order that you're gonna pick up later that afternoon? Not only would you receive the product earlier, but you didn't even have to do anything extra. After all, you would have gone to Walmart to pick up your groceries whether or not you ordered the mouse. Another category that won't be going online anytime soon is home improvement items. If you're installing a cabinet and run out of screws, it makes a lot more sense to simply make a quick trip to Home Depot or Lowe's instead of trying to order screws from Amazon. Also, when you go to the store in person, you can usually consult with Home Depot employees who are generally quite knowledgeable. Home Depot literally hires professional plumbers, carpenters, and electricians to help customers find products and give them tips on installation. This has become an invaluable service for many customers, and if you don't believe me, just take a look at Home Depot stock. While they have cooled down recently, their stock has been going parabolic for years. And as physical retailers continue to embrace such on-demand categories, we'll likely see consumers spend more money at these retailers than ever before. On top of struggling with some inherent shortfalls, online retailers have also been losing some of the key advantages that made them better in the first place, like price. About 10 years ago, a phenomenon called showrooming was extremely common. This is when consumers go to a store to check out a product and then go home to purchase a product online because it's cheaper. While this made a lot of sense a decade ago, it's not as applicable today given that physical retailers have managed to close the price gap. Some retailers even offer special in-store discounts, which simply further incentivizes in-store shopping. And this makes sense, given that home delivery is not cheap by any means. Amazon had to run a money-losing operation for decades in order to eventually achieve the economies of scale required to make home delivery profitable. And with time, Amazon has only increased the cost of their Prime subscription, which now sits at $140. Aside from charging consumers for delivery, Amazon also charges sellers for fulfillment as well. Amazon sellers generally have to pay $3 to $6 for each item Amazon fulfills, depending on its size. And as you would guess, sellers are just gonna pass on this cost to consumers. Now, you can't really blame Amazon for these fees, given that their net margin is in the single digits. However, this gives physical retailers the perfect opportunity to be competitive in terms of price, and that's exactly what they've done. Walmart has actually overtaken Amazon in terms of cheapness in several categories including baby supplies, cleaning supplies, medicine, and personal hygiene. In other categories such as makeup, toys, and pet food, Amazon has maintained the lead. Meanwhile, in some other categories such as snack and food prices, Walmart and Amazon offer identical prices to the penny. So clearly, it's no longer a case of it's always cheaper online. Now, it depends on product category, and in the long term, you're not really going to save money by choosing one or the other in terms of product prices. However, by shopping at physical retailers, you don't have to pay an annual subscription fee or delivery fees, so it could actually be cheaper to shop in person. And finally, as for the last main factor driving forward physical retailers is the shopping experience itself. Nowadays, people have gotten lazier than ever before and have arguably gotten spoiled with home delivery. But even despite this, there's something special about in-person shopping that you just can't get with online shopping. And I'm not talking about weekly grocery shopping or essential purchases. Rather, I'm talking about purchases that you've been saving up for and are looking forward to. Take the iPhone for example. 8 years ago, I remember watching iJustine camping outside of an Apple store to be one of the first people in the world to get an iPhone 6. With the rise of online shopping, Apple has made it possible to simply pre-order the iPhone and get it delivered to your house on the day it's released. But having the phone delivered to your doorstep simply doesn't have the same excitement and satisfaction as buying it in store. Now, that's of course an extreme example, but this applies to smaller purchases as well. Buying shoes online isn't the same as going to a Nike store with your friends. And I believe most consumers feel the same way given that the majority of shoppers still prefer to shop in-store. And here's the reasons they cite for this preference. 33% of respondents to this survey suggest that they prefer to view, touch, and interact with physical products. 26% of respondents suggest that they enjoy the overall shopping experience that a physical location provides. And 13% suggest that they like the immediacy that in-store shopping offers. Hearing this, physical retailers have placed a significant emphasis on improving the in-store experience from buffing up customer support to making the entire process seamless. And it seems like these improvements have been working given that consumers still prefer in-store shopping in general. Throughout this entire video, we've discussed the various advantages of physical retailers and the biggest shortfalls of online retailers. And while online retailers do have their disadvantages, I don't want to give off the impression that online retailers are doing poorly. People are spending more money than ever before online, and this will only increase moving forward. But with that being said, I also don't think that innovative retailers are going anywhere either. In fact, I think they'll perform tremendously as well. The problem with physical retailers 10 years ago was that they were just simply trying to replicate Amazon. They simply threw together a website and started shipping products to people's houses. This wasn't very successful given that physical retailers weren't offering anything unique or special in comparison to Amazon. But over the years, the best retailers have learned to leverage their physical locations to offer something that Amazon can't. This includes pickup and return convenience, immediate availability, and a unique shopping experience. And as long as physical retailers continue to lean into the factors that make them unique, I don't think they'll be going anywhere. But that's just what I think. Do you guys prefer online shopping or in-store shopping? Comment that down below. Also, drop a like if you wish your packages didn't get lost in the mail on a regular basis. And of course, consider checking out our international channels to watch our videos in other languages, and consider subscribing to see more questions logically answered. But until then, I'm Hari, and I'll see you guys on the next one.